I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Well, there's big news for the Polymet Mine project, which received the final go-ahead from the Army Corps of Engineers, and Robert Mueller has delivered his investigation to the Attorney General. Congressman Pete Stauber is here tonight with his reaction and more.
We'll talk about the 23rd Veteran Organization and its mission to help military vets transition back to civilian life.
And we'll have the week's top business headlines from Business North.
These stories and more up next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. And Denny, it's good to be back after a few weeks off during the WDSE membership drive.
Absolutely, and we want to thank all our viewers who contributed to that membership drive. Very generous of them.
That's right. We had some great programs.
That's
and,
right.
Great response and some great guests this week. So let's get started.
Okay, very fine. Thank you. Welcome to everyone. Well, our first guest this evening has been walking the halls of Congress for just about 2 months now, representing the 8th Congressional District in northern Minnesota. And news broke late today that the Mueller investigation has just been released. So a lot to talk about tonight with local and national interests. So joining us now is Representative Pete Stauber, Republican from Hermantown, Congressman here from the state of Minnesota. Congressman, thank you very much for being here. You've been there a couple of months now, and the big bombshell, I guess, tonight is the Mueller investigation has been turned over to the Attorney General. Have you had a chance to see it yet?
Not yet. But before I begin, Denny, Julie, thanks for having me on tonight.
Absolutely.
This is an awesome program for us. And so getting back to the investigation, it's been 2 years, between 25 and $30 million. It's going to, Attorney General Barr has it now, and he will put forth and be as transparent as possible. You know, in the House of Representatives, we voted unanimously that it's got to be put forth in the public realm. Transparency is what must happen here.
So was it worth it?
Well, we'll see. You know, I'm not sure, Danny. We're not going to be able to see. I won't be able to see it for a while. It's probably going to go into one of the intelligence committees first, but that's remains to be seen. So probably in a week or so we'll have, or at least I'll have a better idea.
Sure.
Do you sense a strong likelihood that the House will pursue impeachment of the president regardless of what comes out in the Mueller report, or is that kind of being walked back a little bit?
You know, I'm not sure. You know, when we were in orientation, Julie, we were, it was a bipartisan orientation, and it was Democrats and Republicans getting to know each other. And we said as a freshman group that we want to be a game changer in the 116th Congress. We want to be those freshman members that do what the public has brought us there to do in a nonpartisan way, put the labels aside and just make good decisions for this country. And so to hear some of the impeachment talks, I mean, I'm not involved in it. I know that some other media outlets, and it's in the paper, but you know, that remains to be seen what Speaker Pelosi will do.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers issued Polymet the final permits so it can start construction of the mine. You've been a strong advocate of the mine and the project over the years. Thoughts as we head forward?
I have been a strong supporter of it. You know, Julie, it's met or exceeded every environmental standard, both at the state and the federal level, and it's going to bring great jobs to the region. And like I said, I said this is one of the things that we talk about when we talk about unleashing the economic engine in Minnesota's 8th Congressional District. We know that Polymet will bring between $500 and $500 million worth of economic activity to northeastern Minnesota every year for a minimum of 20 years, and that's like bringing the Super Bowl every year to northeastern Minnesota.
It's the final permit, but is this going to be hung up at the courts yet for a long while?
Well, that remains to be seen. You know, the recorded decision and the 404 wetlands permit the Corps put forth today, which means that Polymet is the first copper nickel mining given them permission to mine in our state of Minnesota. And so we'll see if it's going to be hung up in the courts or not. I suspect it will because of a lot of opposition to it. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Superior National Forest Land Exchange Act? What has to happen with that, and why is it important to the project and to the region?
So thanks for bringing that up. That was my first bill that I introduced
Mm-hmm.
in Congress, and it's very special to me. And basically, it followed in the footsteps of what Congressman Nolan was trying to do, to make codify that land swap in federal law. And so we know it's a win-win situation where there would be more public access to lakes and trails, etc., and the public got more land in that land swap. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
On another subject, what federal programs do you want to see saved that perhaps President Trump wants chopped?
Well, first off, there's a lot of talk of the budget in the House. Speaker Pelosi hasn't put forth a budget yet, so we'll wait to see what she does. But for me, as I talked on the campaign trail, we're going to save Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid. These are programs that people have paid into their entire working life, and I made a commitment that I would do whatever I needed to do to protect those, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
We are hearing some on the other side of the aisle saying Medicare for all. Is that possible?
Well, I could say this, that just 2 days ago I met with a group of healthcare individuals in the city of Duluth, and I asked each one of them about this Medicare for all, and all of them said they don't want anything to do with it at this point. We know the price tag is between 93 million and some change, or rather 32 trillion and some change over 10 years. And so I want to be able to, we want to make healthcare affordable, accessible,
Mm-hmm.
and of quality. And so there's ways to do that. But, Dennis, I don't think that Medicare for all is the answer. We're talking that to me, that means Medicare for none, because that means our veterans in the VA are going to be pulled off. That means those of us with private insurance are going to be pulled off. And keep in mind, almost 75% of the people living in the 8th Congressional District will be forced off their current insurance plans.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that the first bill you introduced, I understand you also had your first bill signed into law.
You know what, Julie, that was very exciting for me. The North Country Trail from Vermont to North Dakota, it's a trail that was necessary in my mind to be able to show the people the pristine wilderness in this great northern part of the country. And that was a bill that was part of the lands package, and President Trump signed, and I was very, myself and Peter Welsh from Vermont were sponsors of it, and I just felt that we have such a beautiful area to be able to allow the hikers and bikers and walkers to look at northern Minnesota, walk through the woods, and just enjoy our beautiful scenery.
Talk about that a little bit. Where is that trail? What will they be seeing?
They're going to see the beautiful woods that we have in northern Minnesota. They're going to see the waterways, the streams, across the whole part of the country. And I think that's for me. It was 2 months, and my first piece of legislation gets signed into law, which is kind of rare. But I'm very proud of it, and I hope people enjoy that for many, many years to come.
Mm-hmm. Did you get the committee assignments that you wanted, and ones that you think would be a good fit for this region?
Julie, I think we did. I'm on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and as you know, Congressman Oberstar was a champion and the chair of that committee, and somebody...
And there's a Blatnick Bridge reconstruction coming up.
That's right. In a couple of years, there will be. But if you look at it, we have all forms of transportation in Minnesota's 8th Congressional District. Rail, truck, air, and water. There's not many districts that have that, and those are economic drivers for us. And so in the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, the subcommittees are pipelines and railroads and aviation. Mm-hmm. That's who we are in the 8th District.
Speaking of rail, would you support the train between Duluth and the Twin Cities?
That's a great question. There's a lot of studies on it. My response to that would be, let's see how the studies go. The congestion on the roads that's talked about as well. I mean, we want to put an infrastructure bill that fixes our federal highways, and so that may be part of the equation to relieve stress on our federal highways.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned pipelines. Governor Walz is continuing the legal challenge to the Line 3 pipeline. What are the implications for that?
Well, so Julie, I was, I was disappointed in the governor because that process went through the process almost 4 years. It was a unanimous decision by the Public Utilities Commission, which showed the need, and to have the Department of Commerce suing on this decision, I think is not the right thing to do at this point. That pipeline is needed, it's warranted, it was shown there was a need. And would put a lot of our labor friends to work.
So what kind of a delay are we looking at here?
You know, Dennis, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happens when it gets involved in the courts, because who knows what happens. I certainly want this project to go through. I think it's the right thing to do. And again, as I said, our friends, the men and women in labor, this is good for them.
Any surprises as you've made the transition from northern Minnesota to Washington? Things you didn't expect? Is there more work getting done than you thought? Less work getting done than you thought?
It's my days are very busy, Julie. Learning, I'm a perpetual learner, and when people come in and talk about the things that are wanted, I always ask them many questions because I want to learn about the subjects that I'll be voting on or bringing legislation forth. So I can tell you something though. Every time I go on the floor of the House of Representatives and I go through those doors, there's a flutter in my heart.
Yeah.
I feel very privileged to be representing this district.
The border issue doesn't seem to be going away. How do you stand on that?
So Dennis, the president says there's a crisis. Homeland Security says there's a crisis. Border Patrol says there's a crisis. I have spoken, looked in the eyes with our Border Patrol. They say we need that physical barrier in certain parts of our southern border where the intensity of crossings, where the crossings are intense. And we know that the drugs, illegal immigrants, and human trafficking are coming through our borders. Secretary Nielsen, Homeland Security, when the question was asked of her how much fentanyl is coming across the borders, you know what her answer was? Enough to kill every American twice. Unconscionable. We need to secure and have credibility on our borders and support legal immigration.
And with that, we have to conclude this conversation. Congressman Pete Stauber, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Julie.
All right.
Thank you.
Come back again. In 2012, the U.S. Department of Defense estimated 22 veterans a day commit suicide, many hurting from PTSD as they struggle with civilian life. The mission of the 23rd Veteran Organization is to help veterans transition back to a positive, happy life. And they have their annual Nearly Naked Ruck March coming up next weekend, an event that helps raise money for 23rd Veteran. Here with more is Molly Ziells from the Ruck March Planning Committee, and Nate Savolainen is a veteran and graduate of the 23V Recon Group Program. And thanks for being here. The name is an attention grabber. You know, ears perk up when they hear Nearly Naked March, Ruck March. Talk a little bit about what that event is, and then we'll come back and get some more details later, but just give us a short course now.
So a Ruck March is a military term for a hike that the military service members do with a heavy pack on their back. And the whole idea is that here in Duluth, we know that it's very cold, we have very thick blood. We thought, well, let's do a ruck march in our long underwear, nearly naked, just to kind of show the toughness. So that's where the name came from.
Mm-hmm. And this is a fundraiser for 23B?
It is, it is. So 23rd Veteran is an organization that helps our veterans transition back into civilian life. And we do that through a 14-week reconditioning program, and that's what the fundraiser in the next 2 weeks is going to do to help raise money for.
Now, Nate, you're a veteran, Marine Corps veteran. Tell us a little bit about your military history and then perhaps how this organization helped you make the transition.
I joined the Marine Corps in '97. I got out in '01, and with a lot of veterans in the, in our service.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with certain things, and a lot of veterans deal with combat. Some deal with losing a comrade. But with my experience, I had some different medical conditions that I couldn't get over, and I seemed to isolate myself quite a bit. So many years went by before I saw this organization, and I was introduced to it, and I thought it was a pretty good idea to join up and go for it.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that whole reconditioning, the program that you have veterans go through, or that you invite veterans to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. We encourage veterans
Sure.
to go through. It's a 14-week program, and it starts out with a 5-day excursion on Outward Bound. So you're going out into the woods and really building camaraderie with your core group. And then for the rest of the 13 weeks, there's actually a Monday, Wednesday, Friday program at IST CrossFit in Duluth. And Brendan Willis, who's the trainer there, has been very deliberate in the workout session that he puts together for the veterans and the civilian participants who are like myself. Mm-hmm. And there's 60 minutes of physical fitness and then 30 minutes of positive psychology immediately after. So we kind of learn about how, what our triggers are, how our brains think, and really come out happier and healthier after the program.
Nate, talk about your experience with that.
My experience with 23rd Veteran Recon was amazing. We ended up having, our group went to Outward Bound, North Carolina, and did a mountain hike for 5 days. It was 12 of us, and we got to know each other very good, and we became like family. And once we got back, we started the CrossFit. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was very challenging, but Brandon and IST has helped us quite a bit, and they're really good at getting you to stick in there and go with it.
Do most veterans seek help making the transition back into civilian life?
No,
they do
don't.
not.
In my opinion, they don't. Mm-hmm. It took me forever to ask for mental health through the VA, and to get out of my house and stop isolating myself to do something like this.
So can you go through the program more than once if you feel you need some assistance, or are there other programs to help you?
We actually have had people go through more than once. It is pretty inclusive for that 14 weeks, but we have had some veterans that have gone through more than once. And we do encourage people to reach out, go out to the website and get some more information about it. If you have any questions, if you're even considering it, we know and we understand that it's difficult to ask for help, and you might not think that you need it. And it really benefits everyone, even myself as a civilian participant. I'm benefiting from the program, and I'm not nearly dealing with what our veteran community is dealing with. We're always looking for veteran volunteers and civilian volunteers as well. In fact, we're starting another reconditioning program on the 25th of June, and we do have availability for applicants. So if people want to go out onto the website and submit an application, you can come sea kayaking with us in North Carolina this June. So that's the Outward Bound where we're starting this year. So
I was interested reading the website that there are really 5 rules associated with the Recon. Show up, no bitching, no war stories, no self-medication, and no watching the news. Why is that? Why are those rules so important to keeping people focused?
I think nowadays the news itself can be quite negative. You know, in my opinion, the mainstream media is looking for that big story, and a lot of times it's negative. To get away from the news, and even going to Outward Bound, they take our phones, no electronics, and you're completely isolated from any type of media or outside influence on this program. So in my experience, not watching the news and not getting into those little things that aren't important, may be important to me, but not important for my health at this time, it did really help me.
Well, let's turn back to the Ruck March. Talk about where it's going to be, when it's going to be, how can people get involved?
It's in 2 weeks. It's on March 30th. It's up at Anger Tower. We typically have, in the last couple of years, we've done it on the Lake Walk, but Mother Nature had a change of plans for us this year, so we're doing it up at Anger Tower. There's a 1 mile loop around Anger Tower, so you can, the Ruck March, the whole idea is to do 10 miles. So you can do 10 laps if you'd like. We do encourage people to fundraise, and for like every $25 you fundraise, maybe put another pound of weight in your backpack, and the whole significance of the weight that you're carrying is the weight that our veterans carry when they come back from service. And we encourage people to put food shelf items or clothing donations in their backpack, and then when they're done with the Ruck March, they can enjoy some music. The Northwoods Band is going to be there. OMC is going to be there, so there'll be food to eat and everything, and then we will take your food donations and clothing.
So Molly, then people can pledge to walkers?
Absolutely. You can pledge if you want. You can come and donate. You can learn more about the program. There's going to be merchandise, 23rd Veteran merchandise that you can purchase. We really just want to raise awareness. The whole idea behind the Ruck March is not just to fundraise for the veterans that go through this program, but to raise the awareness and the visibility of the program. Like I said, it can be difficult to reach out and ask for help, and we just want everyone to know, like, even if you're curious, give us a call, submit an application. We look forward to hearing from you.
Nate, thank you so much for serving this country. Appreciate it.
Thanks to both of you
Thanks.
for being here. Appreciate it. Good luck with your event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's time now for the business news from the folks at Business North. Governor Tim Walz will be the keynote speaker at Duluth Local Initiative Support Corporation's annual luncheon on April the 17th. The event at the Dex Harborside Ballroom is LISC's largest event of the year and its major fundraiser. The presentation will include an address by Duluth Mayor Emily Larson and LISC CEO Maurice A. Jones. A video of 2019 neighborhood progress and partnerships and the 2019 Building Healthy Communities Awards will also be presented. Tickets can be purchased online at eventbrite.com.
Minnesota is well positioned to take advantage of a new manufacturing method utilizing timber, according to a recently completed study. The mass timber manufacturing method was first developed in Europe and incorporates cross-laminated timber in a wood panel system. Their strength and rigidity allows them to be prefabricated and used in multi-level construction, not typically suitable for wood. The study was commissioned by Apex and concludes there is a strong commercial market for the product.
Well, a new survey shows city residents in Superior are largely split over whether to remove a highly toxic chemical from Husky Energy's oil refinery. The presence of hydrogen fluoride prompted a temporary evacuation of community members after an explosion and fires there last April. The Twin Ports Action Alliance, a group advocating for the removal of hydrogen fluoride, commissioned the survey. The questions gauged support for a ban on hydrogen fluoride in the city, whether respondents thought elected officials were doing enough to address the chemical's use, and whether people had an evacuation plan in the event of an emergency. That survey found about 37% supported a ban, while 27% were opposed and 35% were undecided. Nearly 1,600 residents responded to that survey. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
If you have a comment on our show, call now, dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to Almanac North at wdse.org. And check out the WDSE website for news and information about the station, our latest program schedule, and special events coming up. And finally tonight, an honor for this guy, the man sitting beside me every Friday night. Today, the Pavic Museum of Broadcasting announced that Dennis Anderson will be a member of the Minnesota Broadcasting Hall of Fame 2019 inductees. Congratulations, Denny.
Well,
it is so well deserved. It's an honor to know you and to work with you, and just respect the contributions that you've made to the world of broadcasting over the years.
Thank you, Julie. It's certainly an honor to be here with you, and an honor to get this award, to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm really humbled by it. I truly am. It's been a long career. I hope it's not over yet, and I am honored by it.
Well, it only took you 58 years to get
That's
here.
all.
The induction
Thank you.
ceremony will be September 14th at the Pavic Museum in St. Louis Park. For Hall of Famer Dennis Anderson and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next time.